I like to live my life one pizza at a time.
Welcome to the Pizza Response Podcast.
Welcome to the Burning Barrel Podcast.
Welcome to the Burning Barrel Podcast.
Just you and I this week.
Yep.
It's nice. It feels like a cozy hug. Or sitting on the couch watching a television show.
Sure.
You're not having to entertain guests or anything like that. It's just, I mean, we're basically like the pizza for your ears. Just comfort food.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. Go with that.
Yeah, why not?
Whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
Metaphors.
Yeah.
Metaphors, man.
Metaphors are great. They help describe stuff that is indescribable.
Or you say things and then no one understands you, and...
That's more it, in my case, for sure. But I'm okay with that. Speaking of TV, though, I've been watching a TV show that's on... Do you know what Show Me is? I think it might be Canadian only.
No, that does not ring a bell.
SHOMI. It's basically, think like Hulu or Netflix or something like that. The difference with it is that it's free because the only way you get it, really, is to sign up with a cable provider of some sort.
Mm-hmm.
So I have my internet through a cable provider up here, through Shaw Cable, and because I do, I have access to Show Me, which they're partnered with or whatever.
Nice.
So, in a way, it's kind of nice for that because it's basically free Netflix. I'm paying for internet anyways, and they're giving me this service that's Netflix-like. So that's cool. It has a few different things than the Netflix does, so having both of them is still a thing I've been doing, because if it's not on one service, it might be on the other. This is one of the shows that is on that service. I don't know if it's on Canadian Netflix or any Netflix right now at all, but it's a show called Fresh Off the Boat. Best way you can describe it, it's like Malcolm in the Middle if they were all Chinese immigrants. Yeah, so with the standard stereotypes, basically. So the mother is very, like, you have to, like, do perfect in school, blah, 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 kind of uptight. Not to the point that, like, she's a bitch like she is in Malcolm in the Middle. Like, but more, she's kind of like the funny, awkward, like, Chinese lady trying to be American, but, like, still very traditional in a lot of ways. The dad is more like a whitewashed, like, he is basically American with Chinese roots, and then the kids are just stereotypes for the most part. But it follows the, like, oldest of the sons. It's kind of like a Happy Days or something, or the Golden Years or something, where there's, like, a grown-up version of him. It's like a dude telling the story of, like, his childhood, but, like, it's showing him growing up, like, being a kid, or whatever, with, like, voiceover afterwards of him as an adult. So, I don't know if it's, like, based on true stories and then exaggerated, or if it's all just written for the show or whatnot. It's, but he's, like, a rap dude, like, he likes listening to rap and trying to fit into this school and stuff like that. It's set in 1995, and I think that's where one of the giant hooks for me is because it's like a lot of the stuff in it revolves around like 90s stuff. Like there's a whole episode where one of the premises is the kid is trying to get money for the new hot video game called Shaq Fu.
Great.
Yeah. And like then of course, as anybody who has played Shaq Fu knows, at the end they're all disappointed because it's trash.
Nice.
But the like story arc is basically he wants this game, and then traditional Chinese family saying like, well, you're gonna have to work then, we don't do handouts, blah blah blah. He gets a job, and like it's a standard family type sitcom that you would expect, but with like a Chinese influence to it. I think the big part of it that I like is the mother is hilarious because of like the awkward like Chinese stuff, trying to fit in and still being kind of a hard ass. It's all, nice. It's actually quite good. I really enjoyed my time with it. There's only one season and it's quite short. Each episode is like the 30-minute time slot, so it's like 21, 22 minutes each episode, and I think there's like only 13 of them. So it is very much in pilot phase right now. But I would recommend it, I think, for anybody that likes those like Malcolm in the Middle type shows or these family-based sitcoms, because it does a pretty good job of recreating that, especially if you're a 90s kid, like grew up around that age in the 90s, you recognize a lot of like the dumb shit going on here, and especially if you like rap music, because there's really good rap tracks they choose in a lot of places.
Interesting.
Yeah, so it's been really cool. I quite enjoyed it, but the first, I don't know, the first episode isn't great, I will say. It takes about 2 or 3 to really get into the swing of things, and then you're like, yeah, okay, you get to know the characters a little bit more, and it's pretty cleverly written. There's a lot of like clever little stereotypical jokes. There's some blatant racism here and there, but it's in a funny way, not necessarily a derogatory way. And when it is in a derogatory way, they kind of handle it probably appropriately. Yeah, no, I definitely recommend it if you can find it. It's probably on YouTube. Like, it's probably it seems like one of those shows that doesn't have enough of a following that somebody put it up on YouTube and nobody's claiming it. So I would definitely check it out if somebody has some time to waste and likes that type of stuff.
Yeah, I was just looking it up real quick.
Yeah.
It looks like over here, it's on broadcast television. It's on like ABC over here.
Oh, okay.
And it's so it's like 5 million views an episode. It looked like it got.
Oh, okay.
So it seems pretty popular.
What's the general consensus of it? See, this is a problem, is that I haven't actually had cable television for, what year is it, 2015? About 7 years. So I don't actually know what's on TV anymore at all.
I mean, I do. I barely do either. Like, I don't watch TV that much. So I don't really know. I was just looking at the Wikipedia article on it.
Okay. Yeah, well, I mean, if you can catch it, then I would definitely recommend it. I'd like to see more of it. I don't know if maybe there's more seasons then, and then this is only the first season that's on this service. Maybe I'll look it up.
Yeah, it started in February, so there's only that much so far.
Oh, of this year.
Yeah.
Okay, so in that case, I'm really stoked that Show Me is that recent, that it has a full season already on it. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. But
it looks like it was based on a memoir. So it's based on true stuff.
Okay.
By the food personality Eddie Huang.
Yeah, that's the kid in the show.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah, I definitely recommend it if people wanted to go check that out. But that's pretty much all I've been really watching. I don't think I've seen any movies yet this week.
I've been watching movies.
Yeah.
So first I went and saw Inside Out.
Yeah.
Which is the new Pixar movie.
Is it great?
It's pretty good. It feels like a return to form for Pixar, who's sort of been churning out kind of crappy movies that just didn't interest me more than anything. Like, Cowers 2 don't care about. Monsters University just didn't interest me. I don't need to see a college comedy done by those guys. And Brave also had sort of very lukewarm word of mouth, and just I didn't want to see it. Whereas this has gotten really good word of mouth, so I wanted to see it. It's like thematically very similar to Toy Story 3.
Okay.
In that it's like it's about a kid growing up and having to like learn it, like dealing with stuff is just, you're gonna forget stuff about. Like, there are parts of your childhood you're not gonna be able to hold on to. It's a big part of this.
That's okay. So the inherent problem I have with this Toy Story series, even though I love the movies, like I actually really do, it's kind of the same problem I have with just like video games that introduce a cute thing to kill it later. Like, they're very hokey in trying to just evoke emotion by, like, I feel just taking a thing that everybody can relate to, like losing your childhood or something, and then like really hamming it on. Does it do that sort of thing, or is it more like refined at least? Because it seemed, particularly in 3, really hammy. Like, to the point where the toys are about to die. Like, it's kind of too much for me in 3. It was a little more nuanced, I think, in the other ones, and just kind of a cute movie, but what's it like in this?
There's a part that's pretty similar to that from 3,
Okay.
but I thought it all worked in the context of what they were going for. Just in terms of, it's not like, you're not dealing with the actual, like, girl, like, going through some of this stuff. It's more like parts of her. It's basically dealing with her imaginary friend and how it's being forgotten, and like the parts of her mind that would remind her of her imaginary friend are sort of being torn down and disappearing, because it's like, and there's like this big chasm where all her old memories are sort of being dumped into to just vanish and stuff.
Okay.
But and then there are like 2 characters there's like the gum commercial joke thing where they're like, the characters getting rid of all these old memories are like, oh, but this is a gem. Gotta hold on to this one.
That's pretty great.
Gum jingle. They just keep sending up. Louis Black is great as the personality Anger.
Yeah, I mean, that is his whole shtick, right? So yes. I'm sure he would be.
So yeah, all it's really good. It's also just good to see a Pixar movie that's focusing on like primarily female characters, because a lot of their early stuff was like...
I really liked Brave, though, for that.
Yeah.
Because there is... I can't remember what that stupid test is, where, like, having 2 women on the screen and, like, judging how long it takes for them to talk about a man or whatever.
Yeah,
Brave barely has that at all.
The Bechdel test.
The Bechdel, that's right.
This is from a comic book.
That is, like, one of the few movies with the female lead that I can think of in, like, animation, where that is, like, winner, basically.
Yeah. Oh, well, I mean, the Bechdel test is more about trends, and, like, it's ridiculous how few movies actually pass this really simple test.
It's really gross, actually. It's really gross. And you know what? Like, I know a lot of people just say, like, that's a bullshit test and stuff, and it very well might be.
It doesn't mean a movie's bad. Yeah, it's not like really a judgment on the movie. It's just ridiculous.
No, I always found it more as a judgment on the writers, that they're so like not good enough to write something that they have to resort to the same old trope every time, basically.
Or just like people don't think about people think about having a female character, but they never like go to have a second one and then have them care about something that's not one of the male characters.
Sure, yeah. Anyways, does this pass the Bechdel test?
Yes, okay. A lot of it is about the 2 emotions, joy and sadness, who are both women. Girls inside this like, I forget how old she is. She's like 11 or something.
Arguably using those 2 emotions as women, you could probably, like, it's kind of good that it passes that test, because it would be too easy to incorporate both of their conversations only ever being that.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I mean, cool. Yeah, and then there are good conversations between the girl and her mother.
Cool.
Also happens. But yeah, it's just good. Like, it was effective at tugging at heartstrings when it wanted to be. It didn't feel too exploitive. It was kind of, but yeah.
Too exploitive.
I mean, it's purposely trying to make you sad in some parts. Like, yeah, that happens. But it's also sort of a movie that's like, the message is, it's okay to be sad sometimes. That's like the lesson Joy has to learn.
But, I mean,
like,
we know as people movie, it isn't. It's never
She's
okay.
literally trying to put sadness in a circle.
Okay.
Like, they don't move, don't touch anything. Because sadness is like touching memories and making them sad memories. But
okay.
like, the moral is more like, sometimes the person needs to feel sad, or else
that's an interesting
ruin
concept,
their life.
Actually.
Yeah.
Because I feel like a lot of people, like, in real life do try to just, like, draw that circle.
Mm-hmm.
And when it comes out of that circle, it's really bad. So you kind of have to let it do its thing when it needs to.
Yep.
Like, I mean, I think that's maybe, like, a thing, not to get too into, like, mental health or something, but depression and stuff. Like, yeah. I think it's maybe somewhat of a case of drawing that circle and like trying to be normal and keep things within it.
Mhm.
Where it's like, no, like maybe the circle's just bigger, maybe for depressed
Like,
people
yeah.
or something. I don't know.
It's bad. Repressing how you feel generally bad.
Yeah,
You need to get that stuff out somehow.
yeah, it can do crazy shit, like really, really bad, harmful shit to you. So,
Yep. So that's a lot of this movie's about that.
okay,
Things go. So there's like disaster movie elements in there, even though it's like just a person's
I mean, of course, there
memories,
is, 'cause it's
personality.
still a movie.
Yeah.
So,
It is still a movie.
Yeah.
Also, like just briefly, the short that played before it, Lava,
Mm-hmm.
which is about a volcano who sings about how lonely he is, and then there's like a girl volcano below the sea that listens to him, and then as he sinks away, she rises up, but then she rises up facing the wrong direction and can't see him. Which is like
kind of depressing.
it has a happy ending, but the nitpicky part about it to me is like they make the dude volcano like all weird and interesting looking, but then like the female volcano is just stereotypically conventionally attractive and feminine. It's just like, why don't they ever put like interesting designs on female stuff when they do this kind of thing? Like they always just do the conventional attractive.
I mean, it's Miss Pac-Man
women.
again, right? Like Pac-Man was literally just a circle, like a pie with a piece taken out of it
Mhm.
that moved that piece, like
Mhm.
filled or unfilled to make it look like a mouth, and then they put lipstick and a bow on it to make Mrs. Pac-Man. Like, that's just how it worked.
That's almost like that. That's the different thing. That's like the female version. That's literally just the male version with lipstick, and this is like
Oh, that isn't this at all? Like,
No,
it's not
she
just the
looks
same
very-
volcano with a bow on
no.
it?
She looks very different. She looks much more like an actual human being, like person face, whereas he is like this weird drawn out face.
What's it called? Lava?
Lava.
Alright, I'm gonna see if I can find a screenshot of this, because it's really hard for me to picture. Just based on, like,
sure.
imagine a volcano. It's like, okay. Oh, yeah, you're totally right. That's really weird. That's really fucking weird. And, like, the rock's like her hair. That's
Yeah.
funny. And he just looks like, I mean, he looks like John Goodman. He just does. That's not a bad thing. I'm just saying he looks like John Goodman.
Mhm.
And she looks like, I don't know, any stereotypical female modeling
Mhm.
face ever. Okay, anyways. Yeah, I see what you mean. That's really weird.
That was just a weird thing.
Sure. It
So
looks like I
that's-
could actually watch this. This is on YouTube, this short.
Huh.
So
It's okay.
maybe I'll do it later.
It's not great or anything.
Okay.
But I recommend Inside Out. Inside Out was good. And then I saw Ant-Man. I really liked Ant-Man. It's very much just another Marvel movie in a lot of ways. Like tonally, it feels really similar to the Captain America movies to me. It just feels
Okay.
like it's set in that like grounded Marvel universe where it just has that the feel of those movies. It's got that.
So not like the Thor feel where it's very like outer spacey and ethereal or anything like that. Like it's very grounded in reality sort of thing.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
it's going for that.
Okay.
It's starring Paul Rudd, so it has sort of a Paul Rudd feel to it, where like stuff is happening and he's just sort of going with it. Like he never takes things too seriously. Even when stuff gets serious, he just like doesn't have it in him to get super serious. What's his name? Fucking
I think it's Paul Rudd.
yeah,
That's
not
the name
Paul
you're looking
Rudd.
for.
God,
Ant-Man?
no. The guy playing
Pretty sure his
Hank
name is
Pym.
pretty sure his name is Paul Rudd.
Yeah, pretty much.
No, the guy you're thinking about is Michael Douglas, probably, right?
Michael Douglas
Okay.
is great. Michael Douglas just rocks.
Yeah.
So he plays Hank Pym,
Yeah.
who they basically use. He was a superhero during World War II as Ant-Man, and now is old and can't do it anymore.
Makes sense.
And he's
Old
like,
people can't do a lot of things, so.
then like the villain setup is very similar to the first Iron Man movie, where you've got like basically Hank Pym's protege at his company took over the company for him and is now wants to use like the Pym particle shrinking stuff and sell it to weapons dealers for money, make all the money. It's like that same kind of plot, sort of just remixed.
That's a dumb plot. Basic for a villain.
I mean,
it's realistic.
Yes,
it's
it's that Marvel grounding thing.
Sure.
It's
I think
weird
that's why I
how
like
stupid it is.
weird DC villains who's just like, they're just so classically villain. Like, we want to kill all life. Or like,
Yeah, I mean, there are
rule
plenty
the
of villains
universe.
like that in Marvel. They're just not using them.
Yeah, fair enough.
Because they really, it feels like they just have assumed that the appeal to these movies are how they've made them grounded. I don't know how true that is, but that definitely seems to be part of their. I get they're doing it. They're into easing people into the weirder stuff. They don't.
That's
want
lame, though.
Go full weird. Yeah, I wish they would go full weird. That is a problem I have with the Marvel movies. But so this movie also, what really one of the other stronger parts of this movie is that it's very genre focused in that it's really just a heist movie. And I like heist movies. So it has like the superhero stuff plus heist movie stuff. It's like
So it's Captain America meets Heat?
not sort of.
Not full heist movie?
Pretty full heist movie, but it way more goes into superhero stuff. So the really best part about this movie, the thing that makes me really like it, is the action is really good, and they make really good use out of the Ant-Man power of like shrinking and growing stuff.
Okay.
Where he'll like shrink.
Well, I mean, that's the
Jump
whole
around.
gimmick that makes it
Yeah.
different, right? So
Yep.
they should use that.
And like just having him shrink down, jumping around on someone, then growing full size, punching them, just like him like shrinking down into something, taking it apart, and then flying away, or his army of ants. He's an army of trained ants.
So
And there are,
there's
like,
no
different
like
kinds
cool
of
down
ants.
on his growing and...
There's no cooldown.
Okay.
In and out. Boom, boom.
Okay, if there was a video game, that's the mechanic you would need to lead with.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Because that's the most interesting thing. Honestly, the thing in the trailers that makes me want to see it is that like whole scene where there's this epic fight on a train and it's actually just like the tiny train going around in somebody's basement or something.
It's fucking Thomas the Tank Engine.
Is it? That's even
Yes.
better. That's even better.
It's so good. It's Thomas the Tank, and they're like
Is that part great? Like drawn out?
that part is amazing.
Okay, cool.
Like that's like the fight scene where you're like, okay, this movie is. I mean, it's pretty late, but that's one of the fight scenes you're like, wow, this is just amazing. Because like
Okay.
you're in like the small view, and like they're throwing this like train at each other, and they knock it away, and then it cuts to like the full view where you just see this little toy train dink around, land very gently. Or like one of the characters like, oh no, there's a train coming for me, and it just bounces off because it's a fucking electronic toy train. Like it's not actually going very fast with any force compared to how strong that he is at that size.
Sure, yeah. Huh.
That stuff
okay.
is all really good. That's the whole draw, is the seeing all the action stuff. Because the movie, it's not that funny. Like it's funny, but it's not that funny. Characters are okay. Like, it's very standard Marvel, but the action stuff is way more creative and interesting, I think, than have been in any of these movies.
How is
like, they're
Rudd's
really
acting style for that character, where he's kind of like aloof and sarcastic in most stuff?
It works really well, because what I like about it is compared to Avengers 2, where it got too heavy into the melodrama, and it's just nice to have something that, like, cuts through that whenever it like could be starting to happen. It says, nah, we're not going to get that serious. Come on, guys. Chill out.
Chillax, or whatever people say.
Yeah.
I think that's what people say.
I don't think anyone ever actually said that, but
No, they didn't. Nobody says that. Ever.
chillax is like, I don't know if it ever existed unironically, but
Like it's the new version of "What's up" or whatever. Like you've heard people say it, but it's not a thing people say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Overall, Ant-Man's good. We're seeing it in
Yeah.
theaters.
Yeah.
Like, why not, right?
Like, it's spectacle action is why you're seeing it. So, theaters. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Like,
okay.
I don't... It's sort of weird because, like, the action is great. I don't think the directing or cinematography are particularly great. It's just, like, what they're working with is such a cool thing. Like, it's a whole strength. It's like, oh yeah, comic book movies are great because it's this cool idea that even if you're just sort of making an average movie, it's still different and interesting. Like, it's still really cool, even though you're not, like, the talent behind the camera or whatever isn't making this isn't amazing or anything.
Mm-hmm. Okay. How would you rate it in terms of like the other Marvel movies compared to its peers?
Like, pretty high, because I just think it has the best action of any of these movies.
Including
Overall, I
any
think,
of the Iron Man movies? There's some great stuff in Iron Man.
yeah, I just think this action's better.
Okay.
Iron Man's probably still a better movie. Like, there's way too much from this movie that's directly copying Iron Man for me to ever say that's better than Iron Man, really.
Okay.
Like, it's on, like, overall, it's kind of on par with a Captain America movie, sort of. It's sillier. It's more comedic. But
Vel's asking what's more fun, this or Guardians of the Galaxy?
Guardians of the Galaxy had more personality. Like, it's the Paul Rudd thing. It's like he's funny, but he's not that funny.
I think Guardians of the Galaxy has an upper hand in that regard, though, because you're talking about 4 or 5 personalities that are interacting with each other, whereas Paul Rudd kind of has to take this on by himself, right?
Well, he's sort of, but he's also with Michael Douglas is really good. And then the girl who's what's her name from Lost is okay, but she's just okay.
Yeah.
She's the girl. And then Michael Pena has a silly character.
Okay. Cool.
But yeah, I just thought it's like the action just better.
Who would win in a fight between Ant-Man and the Incredible Hulk?
The Ant-Man wouldn't lose because he could just leave.
Okay.
Or hide.
Could he not
I
be
don't
crushed,
think
though?
Not really.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
he could... Yeah, not really. When push came to shove, not really.
So you're saying that Ant-Man would actually beat the Incredible Hulk?
No, he wouldn't win either.
Because, like, nobody really wins against the Hulk.
Yeah.
Okay, what about between Ant-Man and Thor? A man in a suit against a god.
Kind of the same thing.
Okay.
Like, the shrinking thing just makes him be able to, like, disappear in a way where he shouldn't lose. It's like, that, it depends on what they were fighting for, what they were interested in. Like, what was Ant-Man's... If he was trying to steal something, he would probably get away with it.
What if Ant-Man was trying to destroy Thor's family? He was trying to kill Odin.
Probably wouldn't be able to kill Odin.
Okay, fair enough.
Probably wouldn't be able
This is a stupidest fucking thing. Just like, what if this thief was actually trying to murder a god? The god of gods.
It's totally outside his personality, but yeah, sure.
Okay, but he might win against, say, Star-Lord.
Yeah.
Or, like, he would definitely win against Star-Lord. Probably, because Star-Lord is essentially just a human with a gun.
Yep.
So, Okay.
Technically, he's an alien human, but whatever.
Well, he's basically Han Solo, right?
Yeah.
Like, let's be honest here. He's a wisecracking asshole that listens to music.
He would probably get knocked the fuck out.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. So I'm stoked to hear that you enjoyed this movie because Ant-Man to me has always been like the perfect dumb superhero. Like, it's a stupid power and gimmick, but like he's the best at it. Like, it's I don't know. I think I've always thought it was a dumb premise, but kind of cool.
But look, this is the only Marvel movie that has a fight on top of, and using Thomas the Tank Engine. So
yeah, okay, fair enough. So it automatically is the best Marvel movie.
Yeah.
All right, cool. I'll have to see it. I actually do want to. So.
Yep.
That seems like a good movie to leave work for a few hours to see and then come back, basically to get paid to watch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What do you have else on here? A Hard Day.
A Hard Day is great.
Okay.
This is a Korean thriller, and it's like just throws one thing after another and just gets like more and more ridiculous. So it starts with like this guy is driving in the rain. He's had a few to drink. It's the day of his mother's funeral. And like he sees he's sort of driving too fast because he's late. And he sees a dog in the road and he swerves to the side so he doesn't hit the dog. And then he looks back and then he's hit a person.
Okay.
He goes out, the guy's dead. There's like blood everywhere. And then there's like he sees like a cop car coming, he panics, like drags the body off to the side of the road, hides it, then puts it in a bag, stuffs it in the trunk of his car, and heads off. Then he gets like a call from, it turns out he's a homicide detective.
Okay.
He gets a call from his people he works with. It turns out their whole office is being raided by internal affairs at that moment. Like they find all this money in his drawers he has locked on because it turns out like his whole division is dirty. So it's just like piling on one thing after another. He goes to like a checkpoint and these guys that they're checking him don't believe he's a homicide detective and keep giving him all this shit and like eventually pepper spray him and start kicking the shit out of him before the call goes through that he was a homicide detective. For real.
So I'm guessing the whole premise is like that this dude is just having the worst day ever, basically.
Pretty much.
It sounds already though like it's gonna be hard to sympathize with him if he's a dirty cop who kills somebody. So like, who cares? Good that his life is shitty because he's a piece of shit.
It's one of those things where it's like it's funny because it's so ridiculous.
Oh, okay. Okay, cool.
It goes like a good thriller. It's funny because it's crazy. Like
Okay.
he ends up convolutedly hiding the body in his mother's casket.
Okay.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But like eventually you like find out he has to like dig the body up later and he finds it had gun wounds in it. Like the guy was dead before he hit him.
Okay.
Like, it like gets crazier and crazier.
Okay. How so it escalates pretty good then the whole time.
Yes, it keeps escalating. It keeps getting ridiculous. By the end, like him and the guy he's fighting are like so tired. There's like one is just trying to bite the head of the other one. They're just like, fucking exhausted. It's also great. It's like one of the few movies I've seen that had a chase where the people got like realistically tired after just running a few blocks. Like they can't just run forever. They're like not actually. It's like first movie, people are in a chase and they're not in the best shape in the world.
That's pretty good. Huh. Is it? You said like it's funny.
Yeah.
How like kind of crazy it gets or whatever.
Yeah.
Is it like stressful though the whole time?
Like it's tense, but
Okay.
But like at some point, you're like you're sort of following this guy, but it's not like you're really like, oh, this is a great dude, I want him to succeed. You're kind of like, how the fuck is he gonna get out of this one? What? You're just sort of curious.
So you're not really rooting for him. You're kind of watching it all unfold.
at the beginning. Like
Okay.
you kind of come to root for him because like they do human. Like he has a daughter. He's a single dad with a daughter, and you're like,
Okay.
so you start to care about him. Like they build it up. They like build him up after starting him out at the point you don't care about him.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
It's more curiosity at the start.
Cool. Sounds
That
interesting.
It was really good.
Where did you watch it?
East Village Cinema, in New York. Like it's playing at one theater in New York.
I'm reading up on it. It came out last year, so it might not be crazy to be able to find this on the internet somewhere, right?
Yeah, like it's just came out in theaters in America and limited release.
Oh, yeah, okay, I see what you mean. 2014 in Korea.
Yeah,
That's okay.
just came out in the US
Okay.
on the 17th.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, that was really good.
Would you recommend it?
I recommend A Hard Day if you like thrillers.
Is this something I could wait to watch when it's more, like, available, or am I going to have to drive to, like, a theater maybe 2 or 3 hours away with one showing?
You could probably wait to see it when it's more available.
Okay. This seems like it would be one of those things that would be available for, like, $2.99 or $3.99 on, like, a YouTube service where you could, like, rent a movie.
Yeah.
Alright. This is where I wish video stores still existed, because this would definitely be in a video store eventually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of times with these kind of releases, they put them like on-demand services when it comes out, but it doesn't look like this did.
Yeah. Alright, cool.
And then I sort of made a mistake and went to go see another movie, but I was kind of burned out and fell asleep during a lot of it, so
Yeah.
don't have that much to say, and because I don't really know what happens. But I went to see the movie Court,
Okay.
which is
So you went to a theater
yes,
and fell asleep in the theater.
yeah.
Did you wake up at the end of the movie, or were you kind of there for like 10 minutes before waking up and realizing everyone else had left?
I woke up like during the last scene again, and I was sort of nodding off. Like I was in and out through most of it.
Okay.
So the thing about this movie is a lot of it is like framing a shot, and then stuff happens through it, and it's like sort of slow. So like there would be no one talking, and nothing is really happening in a moment. So my eyes would close, and then people would start talking, and they would open again. And this because it's sort of a absurdist comedy of a guy he gets arrested because he sung a song in public, and then this other dude committed suicide.
Oh, weird. Okay.
And he's being charged for murder, basically. Performing an inflammatory song, which, like, might have caused this guy to commit suicide. So it's a lot about these, like being in this courtroom and, like, his lawyer trying to argue in his defense, and then there's the prosecutors arguing against him, and it's all ridiculous.
So is it just some weird, like, courtroom drama then?
A courtroom comedy, like it's
Okay.
it's silly, it's absurdist. Basically, you're supposed to be laughing at this stuff.
Okay.
Like the movie, I mean, the movie even ends with a joke, but it was kind of slow, so I shouldn't have gone to see it at that time. That was a mistake.
Was it like at midnight or something?
No, it was just. I mean, it was just had been a long day, and
Yeah.
I was just tired.
Okay. Did you double feature any of these?
Yeah, I double featured Hard Day
And Court?
and Court.
Okay, so that's why you're already tired from watching a movie, basically?
Yeah, a movie that was like a thrill ride
Right.
to a much slower paced movie.
Do you think if it was the other way around, it would have been easier? Like if you had watched Court and then went to A Hard Day, you would have been awake for both of them?
Probably.
Yeah.
But,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. What I can say about Court is it had the thing of like just really beautiful shots of India. Like really good.
I'd really like to
Just
visit
frame
that place
shots.
sometime, but it's not even in the top 10 for me. I don't
Yeah,
think.
fair enough. There are a lot of cool places in the world.
There's a lot of them, and there's, like, The thing is, I would love to see that plays, but if I'm going to be in that quote-unquote area, I'd like to see, like, some of the richer cities ever in the world. Like, if I'm going to be in the Middle East area anyway, like, why not go to Dubai or Abu Dhabi, where, like, people are literal millionaires that live there, and the architecture is amazing. But, yeah, one day, maybe. It seems like it'd be too hot, though. I don't like heat. Like, a lot of heat. All the time. And everybody, like, I've had friends that are Indian or whatever, and and every now and then they have to go home to visit family and do, like, their pilgrimage or whatever the hell it is they do for their religion. And, every time they come back, they're just like, it's just the worst, like, hot. Like, even at night, it's like 40 degrees Celsius, and you're, like, having trouble breathing, which is why everybody has air conditioning. So, that doesn't sound fun. At all to me. Just like, or like seeing trains or buses or whatever filled with like hundreds of people. I don't know. None of that seems appealing, but I would like to see like the other stuff that is kind of cool, like their markets and stuff, and all the bright colors and like the food and all that stuff. That would be great. It's just all the people stuff that would get to me, I think. Anyways, so that's what you've watched this week. 4 movies. Whereas last week, there was none. So you're making up for it now.
Pretty much. I
think you've pretty much done 2 movies every week as a, like, average. Maybe not.
Maybe not. There are a bunch of weeks where I didn't see anything. And then I see a bunch of stuff, usually.
Cool. We should talk about video games now, though.
Sure, video games.
We both have been playing Rocket League.
Yep. It's pretty much all I've been playing.
That game is fun.
The game is so good. Just mechanically. I fucking love it.
It's really good, because it's one of those games that when you start playing it, you feel like an idiot, and you're just like, how am I going to hit this ball with this car? And then you get a little bit better, and you're like, okay, I can generally hit this ball pretty, like, accurately when it's close to me and stuff like that. And then there's, like, another step above that but can you hit it while you're flying in the air? So, like, that
was way more hard.
There's, like, a huge skill ceiling on this game that I'm not even close to being at all yet.
Yeah.
But, like, I feel like I'm basically at the level right now where if I play against people of equal skill level, I can have fun, and we can generally, like, try to set up some idea of plays. But we're not at the part where we have plays yet.
Yeah.
So I think that is the next step. And then the next step after that is, can you do those plays while flying? So, like, there's a lot. It's one of these games that it's easy to pick up and learn, but it's hard to master in every way. Yeah. And watching people there's already, like, esports leagues and stuff forming on this game, and I'm super stoked. Because I really like esports a lot, and I'm so excited that there's actual esports stuff happening now that isn't just MOBAs. Because this is the closest I think we'll get for now to, you could play like 2 matches of this or some matches of this on ESPN, and people will maybe take it more seriously because it's a lot cooler and funner to watch than the thing with MOBAs is you have to know the MOBA specifically. You have to know heroes and builds and stuff to really get the full entertainment out of watching people play it well.
Yeah, like, if you're not deep in, you don't really understand what people are doing, so you don't know what's impressive.
To the point where when the international happens, they have to have a newbie stream to explain what's happening.
Yeah.
Whereas everybody knows the rules of putting a ball in a goal, and everybody can see how fast your cars can move. And that's all you need to know. Like, the way this takes skill is by being able to just, like, have the coordination to be able to hit something out of midair and push a ball into a net with a car. Like, that, it's just impressive to watch, and people play it at a high level. So, I'm super stoked that this game is getting as popular and has gotten as popular as it has. That being said, it's also the biggest double-edged sword, because their servers are fucking terrible and have been down so much. Their servers are always fucking down, except for when we play at like 2 in the morning.
Yeah.
That's the only time it ever seems to be up. Playing in the middle of the day, you're kind of rolling a dice to see if your like area is up or not. But yeah. For some reason we just lost the call, so Hank is gone. I'll take this time to keep talking though. I've also been playing Earthbound. Earthbound has been fantastic, and I wish I had played it sooner. It does so many things well. Like, I'm really, really enjoying just how fast it all feels for a turn-based RPG. Down to the point where when you're leveled up enough, you can just kind of skip past mobs because they just auto-win you. Like, you auto-win against mobs that attack you. That's a thing that should have been in every RPG ever, so I'm stoked that it's in this, and I'm kind of pissed off it hasn't been in everything, because grinding sucks. It's absolutely the worst thing ever, and the people who made this know that. They programmed it perfectly. The writing is great, the sense of humor is so good. Like, it's very absurdist and kind of surreal in a lot of ways, but the whole game premise basically is with this otherworldly being taking over and like destroying Earth or whatever, named Gygus, and the only thing that can save the world is a group of like 10-year-old kids or something, maybe 12 or 13-year-old kids. I need to get back into it though. I really like the battle style. I really like that there's a countdown for your health, so that if you get hit, say you have like 400 health or whatever, there's a ticker, so it'll go down like 399, 398, 397, like it'll go faster than I can say it, obviously, but it'll go down slow enough that you can, when it's your turn, if you're at like 200 and going down, you can actually use a health item or heal yourself, and it'll start going back up. So even if there was a move that did 500 damage to you and you had 400 health, you could actually heal back up enough to like stay alive. I think that's pretty cool. I haven't really run into that yet. This is only kind of hearsay from what other people have told me. But I haven't run into it yet because my health is too... Basically, if I face something in the game that hits that hard, I'm just dead anyway because my health goes down too fast. I am super looking forward to playing more of that game. Like, really bad. It's so good. Hank's back, so we're just going to add him back into the call here. Hey!
Hey.
I kept talking when you
All
left.
right.
So,
Cool.
I'm talking about Earthbound and how great that game is, and how I wish I had gotten into it sooner. Do you have any history with Earthbound?
No. So, when you were playing it,
No.
I said in chat, this game is too chill for me. I can't handle it, and that's sort of been my history with it. Because every time I tried to play it, it's like it's too relaxed. I can't. It's cool, but I just personally can't. I can't deal.
It's too relaxed. What does this mean?
I don't know. It's like too chill. I just get antsy and need to do something else.
Like, I don't really get how it's chilled, necessarily, because the last part I played, I would walk through, like, a Ku Klux Klan meeting of painters.
I mean, I never got very far in it.
Okay, the beginning I didn't really love, and a lot of people have said, like, play for maybe an hour or so, and they were totally right. Once you get past that beginning area and the world starts opening up a little bit, I don't even have, like, I just got my second party member. So, like, I don't even have a full party yet, and I'm digging it a lot.
Yeah. It's also the kind of game where if I had it on a handheld, I probably would play it.
Oh, okay. Huh. Yeah.
I don't... Console RPGs, if I'm not playing with friends around, I don't... Like, I need that on handheld to have the patience for RPG stuff like that.
Well, I think it's one of those things that, like, when you would have played it originally, would have been 95, 96-ish, maybe.
I mean, I never had access. I've never heard of it like, the first time I played it was on emulator.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing, too, is that the reason why I missed it is because it was so not a huge deal here in North America when it came out at all.
Yeah.
To the point where a lot of people actually panned it for being bad. And it made me realize that they're just wrong. Like, that game does mechanically so much of what RPGs should have been doing ever since. I really like the, like, just automatically winning against something that is way underpowered and you still getting full experience for it. So, like, grinding out would be a little bit easier, and it wouldn't be... It's not like a fake way to try to say, like, yeah, you have 20 hours of gameplay, or whatever. It's like, yeah, but 15 of those is just grinding, so you could beat the end guy. Another thing is, I like the countdown meter thing, like, for your health. So, like, as it's counting down, as I was saying, if you take, like, say 400 damage and you only have 380 health or whatever... You could, like, as it's counting down in your turn, heal when you're at, like, 100 health and it's still counting down, and you would be fine. I think that's cool. Like, that's a really cool thing that should have stayed. I really like a lot of the writing in the game, as I was saying. Like, the writing is kind of, like, cutesy, but weird. There's an ominous feel to everything in that game, which is great. The hippie... with the Johnny Be Good music playing is absolutely fantastic. That's just too good.
It's really good.
There's a lot of good stuff in that game, and my first introduction to any of that stuff was Ness was in Super Smash Brothers.
Yeah.
And so that made me, like, originally look into what, like, Ness is from and stuff. And from there, I read about Earthbound and stuff, and I thought it looked dumb. And I was just like, this character... I never really liked Ness in Super Smash Brothers either, or Lucas, or any of them. I don't like them at all.
I loved Ness in original Super Smash Brothers.
And I still kind of don't. The best thing about him is when you took your bat, you wound up and just, like, knocked someone off.
Yeah,
like,
in original Super Smash Brothers, once you master his throw, it's fucking broken.
Oh, okay.
It's really good. Played a lot of original Smash. Before, like... in the months leading up to Brawl coming out in college, and we got really good at that game.
Yeah, fair enough.
Where to the point where, like, you're like, oh, Ness is broken, actually. Like, he's just better than most of these characters. Because his throw is so good. Throw is, like, it's so easy to grab people in that one.
In the first one?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember not liking that game very much, but... I only ever really had one other person to play with. Like, anytime we played with three, like a full four, it was great, but that was maybe, like, once every couple weekends when one of us would rent it. None of my friends bought it, because it was one of the more expensive. When that game came out, it was at the age where, like, our parents stopped giving us allowance money or, like, buying stuff for us because we were too old for that, but we were too young to get a full-time job or something. So we were in this weird limbo of, like, our parents would buy us things we would need to survive, like clothes and, like, school books and all that sort of thing. But anything that was more than that, we would have to, like, maybe find a part-time job or, like, cut grass to buy stuff or, like, anything like that. So it came out at the time where we basically didn't have money, like, at all.
Yeah,
None of us. So we would rent it every now and then, because the few of us that would... say shovel sidewalks or whatever and got a few extra dollars, that was only enough to rent a video game every couple weekends and not buy something. But yeah, Ness has never been a character I cared about, and playing this now finally, I really like that character, and I don't know why. There's not a whole lot to that character. He's just he's an avatar for you, basically. Yeah. But I really like that game and everything around it. Like, I think talking to your dad on the phone is kind of funny, like, hilarious. The mom just, like, telling your friend, like, oh, you don't like steak? Well, too bad. Ha ha ha. Like, making fun of your fat friend neighbor is great. Pokey's a piece of shit. I really hate him. Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of good things happening in that game, and I can't wait to see more of it. But I've been enjoying that. The reason I started playing it was obviously because Iwata died.
Yeah.
And I wanted to revisit some of the stuff that he was known for. I've already played basically all the Kirby games, so I didn't need to revisit anything there. I know what those are about, but Earthbound was always the blind spot on my radar. And now that I've played it, I absolutely adore it. And I can't wait to play more. Other than that, been playing Odalis by the dudes who made Oniken. Joy Masher Studios or something like that, I think they're called. I can't remember exactly, but they seem to specialize from these two games so far retro feeling new games.
Mhm.
And the first one felt more like a weird Contra that you like had a sword in as well. Like it was more shootery, fast-paced sort of thing, side-scrolling. This is much slower, focusing on like dodging enemy fire and attacking them with your sword, which feels like a whip basically because you need to be kind of close and there's a swing, like a drawback to your swing, so you have to time it appropriately. And you pick up items that can help you. Like I picked up recently the torch item, which acts like holy water. You basically throw it down at an angle and it kind of like lights up a small portion of the ground. Or like if you hit an enemy with it, it'll hit them every frame that it passes through them, kind of like holy water did.
Yeah.
You have the axes, which are essentially the knives in Castlevania. Like you throw an axe straight ahead instead of at an arc, which is kind of weird. Like there's a lot of weird things that feel like Castlevania but are a little mishmashed in this game, but overall it's very true to that old feel of game, and I like those old field games a lot, so I'm enjoying the hell out of this one personally. The art aesthetic and stuff is spot on, down to where they have the CRT scan lines and like a little bit of a vignette around the corner, so it seems like you're playing it on an old CRT. It's just really well done, and I'm super stoked that it's finally out and I get to play it. For anybody who likes those type of things, I would definitely check this game out. I would also check out Oniken if you haven't, because I think it's pretty cheap. It used to be on, oh my god, I can't remember the name of that site. There was like that site that dealt mostly with just like indie games.
Desura?
Yeah, it was on Desura for like $1 a long time ago, and I think it's on Steam now for $5, and this is, I think, 5 or 10 or something. But yeah, totally worth it. I really am enjoying it. I can't wait to play more of it. I was going to stream some of it, but I thought, nah, and just played more of it today for myself.
Fair enough.
Don't have to stream everything, you know? Kind of like Trials Fusion, which I was also playing. Do you like
Still
Trials games?
Never actually really played one of them.
Okay. You know what they're all about, though.
Yes, I'm aware.
Trials Fusion is a Trials game. What I was specifically playing is Awesome Level Max, the DLC that like they showed off at E3 with the cat with the guns riding a horse, a unicorn specifically. That unicorn doesn't feel right to me at all, because
Does it feel like a motorcycle?
that's the thing, is that it feels like a motorcycle to the point where when you're revving, say like your motorcycle to go or whatever, the same button, you're actually just like moving the horse's back feet and not the front feet, which feels awkward. Like it controls exactly like a motorcycle would. Instead of wheels, though, it has feet. And
Weird.
it feels like there's a weird hitbox issue, it feels like, where when it's hard to explain, but when you see two circles and like you're up in the air and you're about to collide with a ramp or something, you kind of have an idea of physics based at like how your wheels should be like aligned, so when you fall you are perfect. The horse's feet seem off, and I've been falling off a lot because like the front feet looked like they were at the right angle, but really they were a little too far forward. Like it's almost like the front feet for the unicorn have to be tilted at a 30 to 40 degree angle more than like in the opposite way you want it, because like it's basically like the very bottom left part of the hoof is where the bottom part of the wheel would be, but they're angled weird. So it actually feels really shitty and not good at all. The level DLC though is kind of cool because it's a lot of weird like psychotropic things happening. Basically the premise is you are a Trials dude, like you're on a motorcycle in the first part of the tutorial or level or whatever. Yeah. And your mission is to steal these blueprints from a thing. So you steal them, but at the end of the level where the ending is, you accidentally jump into like this transforming device, and that's what transforms you into the cat and unicorn combo. So then the next level's on take from that, but everything's all weird and psychotropic because you're like in a haze or something. Everything's fucked up now.
Mhm.
So that's kind of cool, and the level designs reflect that pretty well. Like, there's a lot of weird things happening in the level design where you're replaying the same part over and over, but, like, it changes to, like, a medieval setting or somewhere in space, or, like, it's really, really neat. It's just that, mechanically, it feels like trash, and I don't want to play any more of it, which is a huge failing for a video game.
Particularly something like Trials, which
Mm-hmm.
it's like all about just doing these like mechanics you've fucking played over and over again. 'Cause that's what you do.
And that's what's infuriating about it, is that I'm not saying I'm the best Trials player or even that I'm a great one or good, but I've played enough Trials that, like, I can play through a Trials game all the way to, like, the ending, like, challenges or whatever, and still be kind of competent at those.
Mhm.
And this is, like, the first 2 levels of being a horse, and I can't get past them because it feels so off. Like, I'm falling like 10 times in a row in one part because I'm trying to understand where this stupid horse's front leg is supposed to be that isn't moving, even though, like, the back legs are. Nothing about it feels right,
Mhm.
and that's a huge failing for a game that made its career basically on feeling great.
Yeah.
So they fucked up, and it's a piece of shit. That's all I have to say about that.
Great.
Yeah.
Out now.
Yeah, it is out now, and it's kind of overpriced. It's like $14. There are other DLCs like 4. So,
Weird.
yeah, I don't know. It's one of those Ubisoft cash grabs,
Yeah.
and it worked. So
They grabbed your cash.
they grabbed my cash. That's all I have to talk about this week, though.
Okay.
We could talk about Iwata dying again. So
Sure.
he died.
Yeah.
That's
Sucks.
it's really shitty. And, like, I think it says how shitty it is when not a Nintendo dude talks about how much that sucks. Like, it's, I've never really liked the Wii and, like, a lot of the stuff he's implemented, but I've always liked where he's come from as, like, the business side of stuff in the video game industry, and that's what sucks for me, I think.
Like, thinking about it, it's not like the time when I came around to just thinking Nintendo's ranking decisions I liked and just started liking them as a company as opposed to just liking their games is the Iwata era. Like, that's when it happened for me. Where, like, because as someone who, what the consoles I own are like a PlayStation, and I owned a PlayStation 2, like, I was not super into the GameCube era of Nintendo. It's like Nintendo as a company. I thought they were being silly in terms of just chasing, like, Sony and Microsoft, but in a way that made it so that they couldn't compete with them, even though they were just sort of doing the same thing.
Like, they were falling behind always a little bit, but, like, trying to compete.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That, like, yeah. It's like with the N64 and then the GameCube, they were already in that position. And I just thought the Wii was smart just because it was different and it was way cheaper.
Yeah.
Like, from those two perspectives, it did a cool thing. It just made a lot of sense. But also, like, just the way he's interacted with fans and, like, the way the front face of the company that they've presented has been something I could get behind about. Like, I just fucking liked the stuff that the way they've stood for video games as opposed to all this other bullshit that Microsoft get into.
That's kind of where I'm at too, where, like, I didn't particularly love a lot of things about the Wii, but I've always respected that Nintendo went from, like, trying to compete, quote unquote, or whatever, like, with the N64 and getting those new graphics and 3D platforming and all that sort of bullshit. And they kind of just went back to, like, we're going to go to just things that are kind of gimmicky but fun for everybody. Like, he was very much about, in a time where there's an arms race for the newest graphics and the cooler game or, like, the most artistic games, they always just did something that was instantly playable and fun and recognizable as being fun.
Yep.
And that's, like, a hard thing to replicate because so many CEOs want to have the cool new thing. And I think the only thing he ever wanted to do was have everybody he could play his games. And that's, like, admirable to me.
Yeah, it's super good.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, you remember the times you're playing, say, New Super Mario Brothers, like, with 3 of your friends, and, like, this one part that you kept killing each other on. And I don't remember, like, most of Gears of War, even though that was, like, the new thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. They really focused on, like, experiences, whereas other games just tried to get your money, I think, with the new technology. Neither one is necessarily more right over the other, but I've always felt that video games, first and foremost, should be fun. And Nintendo stuff always has been, basically.
Yep.
So,
I mean, to me, the big failing of the Wii U was just it cost too much when it came out compared to the other consoles. Like they made that thing too expensive for what its place in the market was.
the biggest failing Nintendo always makes, though, is that they never give enough of, like, they always seem to undercut what they have. So, like, the Wii was hard to get because there just wasn't, like, millions available to everybody that wanted one for the first couple weeks.
True.
Like, they never ship enough of their stuff. That's always been their biggest failing, is that they don't recognize their market's actually the biggest. But maybe because it's hard to blame them almost, because when you look at, like, the sales numbers and stuff like that, they probably feel like theirs isn't the biggest, but let's be real. Like, even as a PC gamer, I can admit they are the biggest, and they always have been. People have always wanted to get their stuff day one or week of and try out the new Legend of Zelda or new Mario game or Metroid or any of their stuff because they are the original video game company. So even people that don't necessarily love Nintendo like me and think some of their business practices have been at worst shady, at best stupid, like, I want to play their shit too. That's why I have a Wii U and I don't have a PS4. Like, so their biggest problem is never realizing how big they were, and I think that was Iwata's probably personal problem as well. I don't think he ever realized that he was the CEO of the biggest gaming company ever. But in a way, that's kind of the good thing of him, too. He always just wanted to do, like, what he felt was right. Which is kind of too bad that it was never enough to make sure I had a Wii day. I wanted to buy Red Steel week of, and I'm glad that there wasn't enough Wiis out there to make me make that mistake. But at the same time, I kind of wanted to learn by myself that Red Steel was garbage. It looked cool, but... Too bad it wasn't, but anyway, I don't know. It's just kind of a blow to the industry as a whole when you lose somebody that intensely into what they're doing for fun, and, like, he's probably going to be replaced. Like, if he's not replaced by, like, Miyamoto or Sakurai or somebody that has kind of the same ideas as him, he's probably going to be replaced by somebody, like, who owns Konami, and, like, they're going to just lose all of their heart. And that's going to be so sad. I really hope that doesn't happen, but... Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like they'll probably promote from within. Cause that's
they have
their
right?
trend. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Because, I mean... Yeah, I mean, they have to recognize how fucking amazing Iwata was. And that they should try and stay on that path. Just like the fact that that when they were struggling... He went for making sure everyone kept their jobs because he recognized that, like, the long-term health of the company is making people feel comfortable and doing their work as opposed to fucking firing everyone. It's just gonna ruin everything.
It's not necessarily about the bottom line. That'll come in time. It's just like making sure everybody that is talented feels like they're okay to create whatever they want. Because, like, I think that was another thing, too. Like, he was a creator himself. Like, I think that was another great thing about him, is that he wasn't one of those types to worry about the Excel spreadsheets and, like, make sure the bottom line was always in the black or whatever, even though I'm sure he had to pretend he was all the time to investors and all that stuff. But he knew that, like, in creativity, you'll make, like, 100 garbage pieces of shit until you get one amazing thing that'll change the world. And luckily, Nintendo has always had some of the best people, and they've made that number from, like, 100 pieces of shit to maybe 10 for every one great one.
Uh-huh.
But, like, I think you need somebody who understands that the creative process is basically failing a whole bunch until you do it perfect that one time. Which I think is something he understood. And it would be a shame if they got somebody in there that was like money fiend, like a pencil pushing Excel spreadsheet reading piece of shit, because it would ruin everything that's great about that company.
Yep. They wouldn't. I don't think they would last.
They wouldn't. They wouldn't at all. If they went for money, we would see 1,000 more Legends of Zeldas, and they would all be even more trashy than the one people hate the most.
Like, yeah, there's a reason Nintendo is the company that's still around. When you look at, like, what happened to Sega, and what Sega is now compared to what they used to be. Like, it's a different thing.
And, like, the new Nintendo system would basically be like another PC, and that would make me not buy it, because if that happens, guess what? I already have a PC. Nintendo just lost my money. Like, yeah, so I really hope they keep that, like, I don't mean it derogatory necessarily, but that childishness about them. Like, where they just think, like, there's a wonder to everything they try to do. Even for better or for worse, sometimes it's just dumb, and sometimes it's, like, actually
Creative
really good.
Spirit.
Creative spirit is probably the more politically correct thing to say, without offending both Nintendo and children everywhere. Yeah. Either way, I think that's it for this week.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. So, thank you for listening. We'll see you guys next time.
See you guys.